Welcome to Dare a New Belief, a place to discover what is possible for your life after the loss of a loved one, and where you will find inspiration, insight, support, and love, and hopefully a bit of laughter to help you through your day. Now, here's your host, Nada Hogan.
Welcome to Dare a New Belief, where you will find light and life, love and joy, healing, faith, and hope. A place where you get to believe in what is possible for your life. And on today's episode, I have the great honor to bring back with me again, because we need about 15 shows to cover everything, Kathleen Scherek. Kathleen is an award-winning educator, author, White House recognized consultant to top companies, and sacred parenting coach. Kathleen mentors pregnant and new parents, grandparents, and child professionals who care for young children in the first 7 years of life. For more than 30 years, Kathleen has studied neuroscience, child development, energy psychology, vibrational health, quantum physics, and world religions. I literally have to take a breath while I read everything you've done. It's impressive. I love it. Kathleen has been a top international consultant to Fortune 200 executives, receiving recommendations from the U.S. White House for her role in improving organizational performance in the United States. A former university associate dean, she has advised both the Walton and Gates Foundations about innovation in education. Kathleen carries several graduate degrees in education and public administration. She also co-founded a Montessori-based school that has served thousands of families and is a Founding Board Trustee of several foundations. Welcome, Kathleen, who you must be 190 years old to do all of these things.
Some of us just keep going till we try to get it right, Nada. So it's when you work with wonderful people, it's quite a joy to be able to offer some services to the world. So none of those things were done by myself. That's for certain. So it's wonderful to be with you again. What are we going to talk about today? Let's have a conversation.
I know. I love it, because you and I can talk about a whole lot of things and out a whole lot of different tributaries. So this time on this show, let's talk about sacred grandparenting. What do you say?
Sacred grandparenting. Okay, that's great. Let's have some fun with that. Yes.
Yeah. So can you tell me what that is? What is sacred grandparenting? I have never heard of that, and it's intriguing.
You know, it really, as a grandparent now myself, I have many friends and colleagues who are on this new path. And of course, I've known grandparents that have gone before us and all, but the sacred grandparenting is really a way to think of ourselves as stepping outside of ourselves to see our grandchildren and our children more clearly for who they are. Because once you get to a certain point in life, you can easily tend to think, well, I know everything. It's not so easy to tell me something anymore, because I have experience that may tell me differently than what you might be offering and all. And really, sacred grandparenting is staying in that field of curiosity that maybe we really don't know it all. Yes, we have lots of experience. We've had, I don't know a soul that's gone through a life without trauma, without challenges, without joys, without celebrations. And so if we can cultivate all of those into an ability to see our children and our grandchildren, because both relationships change, right? When we have grandchildren in the picture, our relationship with our own children changes. As they're going through their new family dynamics, we're kind of on the periphery, and yet we're a part of it. And we are in a supporting role in the cast of characters. And so that's really something important to keep in mind. But it's really applying our life experiences in ways that honor and uplift all these generations that come after us. Because, when we're in the midst of those early years of parenting, I mean, you remember, Nada, goodness gracious, you can't think about legacy. You can't think about, it's hard to think about the next week, let alone the next generation.
Right. Absolutely. And
so you get to a certain stage. Yep.
Go ahead. Continue that thought.
I was saying that you get to a certain stage where you start to consider your genealogy. You start to consider your ancestral lineage. You start to consider what's the impact that you want to leave in the world. Being a grandparent is a different kind of a sacred spot than being a parent with new young children. And so it's sacred parenting is really going into that, embracing it with all the challenges that it brings, because it brings changes. It brings changes to relationships. It brings changes to how we think about ourselves. And as much as we'd like to think that, our journey is kind of done, we know all we need to know, if we're not cultivating on a continuous basis that sense of curiosity, both about ourselves, but really about our grandchildren and our children during this time of transition as our children's families are growing and things, then we're really doing a disservice both to ourselves and the generations that come. Because really part of sacred parenting is honoring what may be the soul agreement that you have with your grandchildren.
Yeah, right. And how does this, when you're talking about cultivating a sense of curiosity about our children and our grandchildren, because I would imagine that there are times, I don't have grandchildren, so I don't know, I've not experienced that, but I hear it's the most beautiful thing. If you're a parent, you think that's the best thing ever, but I hear that being a grandparent is even bigger and better than that. But I'm wondering, because I've seen this, like just, from the periphery, where a parent has said about their child, who now is a parent, that, oh my gosh, I had no idea how self-absorbed my daughter or son was, and I can see that now with this new child. That change alone, where you're able to see your own child maybe not in such a positive light, and how does that, as a parent, a parent and a grandparent, then how are you able to navigate that terrain where you don't want to step in and take over the parenting of that grandchild? We see that happening a lot, and that causes a lot of different dynamics, family dynamics.
Yes.
But how do you
yes.
when you're seeing your child as maybe not as apt at parenting as you thought that they would be, and so how does the sacred grandparenting step into that?
Yeah. I would say two things that really come to mind foremost there. And number one is that our role is really one, of course, if our children are struggling and they come to us for help, we want to be available to that. If they're struggling and they don't see that they're struggling and we see that, or if they don't even know they're struggling, or they don't, when our family expands, welcoming a young child and a baby into the family changes not only the family matrix, it changes the energy in the family. And I mean that in a literal quantum physics way. We have new light in the family now. So when you introduce new light, other things that may not be entirely resolved get stirred up. And that's normal, it's natural. What becomes challenging is to find the tools or offer the tools or help those we love find their way to the tools that can best help them. And of course, they're not going to find tools if they're not aware that they need some help in the first place. And in that case, one of our roles, I guess there's two things here, is to be really a beacon of light. A beacon of light that overshadows the rest of our family. And that is to hold them in love, to hold them in a chalice of beauty, of joy, of compassion, of forgiveness, of deep gratitude, and in this really, it becomes part of our role to create a womb for them, because this is a new transition for them to who they are coming about to be as a family. The second thing I would say, so that beacon of light, and by that I really mean holding the highest vision for our child, for our grandchild, for the new family dynamics that are happening, and almost holding it, as if we are witnessing it, and which can be a challenge for grandparents because we want to be part of it often. Often grandparents want to get in there and this works for me. Let's do this way. And parents are often developing their own ways of doing things, and they need that space to do it. It's hard for grandparents often to step back and allow some of those things because, hey, this worked for me. Look how great you turned out. Or look at, even though the challenges that we went through, you're here and you're able to experience this. The second thing I would say about a sacred parenting approach to being and becoming really kind of an elder in the family, and an elder doesn't refer to age, but that refers to other things, is that if we can embrace the value of inner work, and I really mean that in two ways. Our own inner work, Nada, like I said, we tend to get to a certain age and we know it all, and I mean, with great reason. We've been through a lot. There's not much some of us have experienced or have not experienced, is what I should say. And so we have our opinions, we have our experiences, and yet if we are able to, number one, continue to do our own inner work, that we continue to evolve as our own beings, and at the soul level do this inner work and continue to become a better person, this new child in our lives, in our extended family, is often an instrument not only for the parents to grow and develop, but it is for us too. And that inner work also then secondly extends to working with the higher selves of our children and our grandchild.
Yeah.
So if we can do, whether it is meditation, whether it's prayer work, whether it's chanting, whether it's walking in nature, from whatever our spiritual inclination is, the importance of spiritual connections in these early years is, through research, has been shown to be so dramatically important when children become teenagers. And that they are more able to be resilient to peer pressure, more able to function independently, and more able to be truly themselves if they have some kind of a spiritual early childhood. And grandparents can play this critical role because it's very hard to do some of those things, adding to the plate of a parent. Unless, of course, it's integrated, which is what the goal. But depending on our spiritual inclination, this can be from our own guardian angel to the guardian angel of our grandchild, and to develop that on the inner, develop some kind of a communication there. It could be from our own higher self to our grandchild's higher self, to our child's higher self, and to it could be talking to the universe and sending messages through the universe to our child. Whatever spiritual inclination resonates most with us, the fact that we take the steps to do some inner work really helps manifest a more beautiful environment energetically for our child and